layoffs at CGC.
New trailers for Captain America and the Thunderbolts.
And perhaps the worst TV adaptation of a comic book property ever is finally available for streaming. Yay! All that and more. All that and more. And we talk over each other on an episode of Bronze and Modern Gods. It wouldn't be an episode if we didn't talk over each other at one point.
Of course not.
What were you going to say?
It's a real treat for you. It's a real treat for you guys. If you grew up in the 70s, early 80s, you're going to go back in time.
Yes, that's a nice little teaser. Welcome, everybody. We got a lot going on this week. We're going to get right into it after we remind you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. Help a brother out and hit like, hit subscribe, all that good stuff here on YouTube. So, Richard, we almost didn't have a show today because of one thing and one thing only. My vanity. So on Friday, I have to remember what they called this. I had to go to the dermatologist for what they call photodynamic therapy. So what they do is anywhere they think you might have precancerous skin cells.
Oh, wow.
For sun damage. They put a gel on the spot. They let it sit for 2 hours so you can like read, play on your iPad, whatever you want to do. And then they bring you in for 4.5 minutes. They put the most intense UV light on the area to burn off the precancerous skin cells, right?
Wow.
4.5 minutes sounds fine, right? Mine was my entire scalp. So my entire scalp was covered in this gel. I sat there for 2 hours. I'm like, oh, this will be easy. They tell you, you got 4.5 minutes. It's going to burn. If you need a break, just tell us if you need a break. I'm like, great. I'm a tough guy. I've been in the army. I've broken bones. This is nothing. 30 seconds in, I'm like, stop.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And they're spraying cold water on you while underneath the helmet they have on you with the light. You've got a little fan of like super cold air that you can blow on it. I still had to stop every 30 seconds and just let my guys, here's a picture of what my scalp looked like afterwards. Try not to vomit. Raphael called it my Deadpool cosplay. I call it raw hamburger. But as you can see, it's much better. Just 2 days later, it's much better. So I thought, so if you see like a red dot, like right here, that's what that is. It all burns off and you're left with like new baby smooth skin.
Yes. In glorious 4K, everyone can see.
I know, it's disgusting. I'm sorry, you guys. But
no, John is a very, very vain. He has lots of positive aspects to his character. Vanity, though, is one of its negative ones.
I gotta look good. You guys are here for comic books, right? Maybe we should talk about a few of those. So how about starting off with our hot book of the week, Richard? It's all you.
Yeah, Mass Effect Redemption #1, Dark Horse, back in 2010. It's a continuation of the popular Mass Effect video game series in comic book form. Love Mass Effect. The first 3 Mass Effects are amazing. If you have never played those games, I strongly recommend you go and play them because they make a incredible story across those books. Features fan favorite characters from the games, including Commander Shepard. Now, Commander Shepard is the main character for the Mass Effect games, be it a male or female. A Mass Effect TV series is in the works by Amazon, and that's kind of why we've got some real interest in this book right now.
Raws are selling for as high as $15 on eBay. Did you ever read this? Did you ever get it?
No, I did not. I did not buy this. This was before I re-entered the collecting. So,
yeah, I'm not a big fan of video game comic books like Halo and all that. I guess I take that back. I do have a Blip #1 9.8 newsstand.
Yeah,
does that count?
Comic book adaptations of video games. There's a Doom book out there. They're not necessarily the best, but that also goes for most movie adaptations. And they are roped into a specific set of facts, the backstory of the game or the movie, and sometimes writers have difficulty adapting that to their particular tastes.
You all just heard Richard say that there was a Doom book that was not that good.
Doom the game, Doom.
Doom the game, not Doom as in Doctor Doom. I just thought that was funny. Let's change screens for show and tell a little early because we got some stuff to talk about while we do our show and tell. So bring up your hands. I'm going to walk you through it this week. There you go. And do the fingers. Yes, with me. That way you're not using the screen as an excuse. I was looking at the other screen.
That's perfect. I work well with direction.
All right. Let's talk about some comic book news that happened over the past week. Last week on the CGC forums kind of blew up a little bit. The admin for those forums, CGC Mike, who's been there forever, there was a thread started. I'll have a link for it in the description below. He got laid off.
Yeah.
And he's not alone. According to this thread, several people, their jobs were eliminated at CGC with, a big giant conglomerate company running it now. It's not a huge shock. It's awful. Layoffs are horrible. This thread is interesting because there are some people in there that are doing some analysis, and they're looking at the number of CGC books that have been added to the census over the past few years. And we see this peak, and then it's going down to pre-pandemic levels. What do we think this means, Richard?
Well, the CGC was bought out a couple years ago by Blackstone, I believe it was.
People keep saying BlackRock. It's Blackstone.
Right. And yes, it's a Blackstone.
Two very different companies. Same kind of company, but two different companies.
And the number was $500 million, which was a huge amount of money for this company. I was questioning that. And now, we all
were. What's the number one rule of stocks and acquisitions?
Buy low, sell high.
Thank you. They bought at the friggin' height. I almost cussed.
Yeah, I mean that's absolute worst time to buy a company, and now they have to justify that valuation. And if one of the ways is to make sure that you have increase in profits over time, and salaries are a drain on that profit. So I'm wondering if this was just a pure by the numbers decision by their higher ups to say we need to trim the budget for CGC.
Also, shareholders. Nothing makes shareholders happier than, hey, we reduced headcount. It's awful. Now, I do think there's also the fact that I'm not submitting anything. When's the last time you submitted something?
Last time I submitted to CGC was back in May.
Do you want to get really conspiratorialist about it? Conspiratorial? Is that the word? Conspiratorial? The CGC forums. Without the CGC forums, we never would have found out about Swappity Swap, Swip Swap, Banana Gate, the old Jason Ewert scandal from years ago, getting rid of the forums, maybe. They say in that thread that they're not, the forums will remain. But gosh, if I wouldn't, I've been in places before where my boss is like, all these people are complaining. How do we stop it? Oh, I know. Let's cut off their only route to communicate with us. Then we don't have to hear it.
It's so dumb. If anything, they should be augmenting the forums and have it as a voice for the company. You want to get ahead of those kinds of stories you mentioned. You don't want to be lagging behind. But companies don't seem to understand that. And I would hate to see the forums go away because they are one of the premier places for comic books in terms of forums. If you're not looking at Reddit or one of the other places like that, there are a lot of conversation, a lot of sales that don't happen anywhere else. They happen on the CGC forum. So I would hate to see them go.
You and I used to buy and sell the CGC forums, tons of books. I used to be a big seller on there. All right. What do you guys think? As always, hit us in the comments. We'd love to find out what you think. Now, other news, new trailers. Marvel dropped 2 new trailers within the space of an hour this weekend. Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts asterisk. Let's talk about Thunderbolts. I love Thunderbolts. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I like the team. I like Julie Louis-Dreyfus. I like everything about it. Your thoughts?
Of the two, it was my second favorite.
Ah!
I will say it looks like Marvel is going back to complex stories that have consequence, which to me is that's their sweet spot. Let's have a number of characters who are all and have a conflict or something they need to achieve, and hopefully they spend less time talking about things that aren't a part of that story. So let's see. I was really encouraged by the trailer.
Captain America Brave New World, the second trailer that dropped. This one has been plagued by bad press, bad preview screenings, reshoots. So now they dropped this trailer. What'd you think?
I liked it. Like Harrison Ford as president. It's not spoiling anything to say Red Hulk is in the end if you saw the trailer. So
yeah, if you see the poster, which we'll talk about later.
I thought Sam finally has fit into the role of Captain America. The things that he was doing in the trailer were things that Steve Rogers would never do, but they're things he could do because he had those wings and a whole different set of skills. So I was really encouraged by that. I really enjoyed watching him fit that role. And he comes out and says, the president says, you're not Steve Rogers. And he says, no, I'm not. He is a different person who's in that role. And I think he really steps up and owns his individual take on Captain America.
Richard, you woke dork.
Hold on. No. That's coming later.
Little teaser for later. I liked it. I think it was much better than the first trailer.
Yeah,
I think they leaned in and obviously made some changes and some improvements. We honestly don't know what they are. We weren't in the preview screenings. We don't know what's happening. But this one made me a lot more excited, a lot more action. Thank you. Than people standing around talking about conspiracies and who's out to kill the president and things like that. Boy, can we say that? Who's out to cause problems? There, I edited that out because
yeah. Oh, and I think it's apropos with the temperature of the people's attitudes around politics right now. Whether which side of the fence you're on, there is a lot of tenseness that has gone on in the past few months, and I think that kind of frames how people will interpret the movie. I hope it's going to be positive. It's like you said, there's a lot of action in it. Also, just like in the Thunderbolts trailer, I think it was more complex than we've seen other movies be here for the past phase, and I love it. I'm hoping both movies are the start of a whole new arc of movies.
I get a very Ed Brubaker vibes from it, which he has written one of my favorite cap runs. Best cap run was Mark Grunwald. But moving on to lighter fare, I'm flipping through Tubi, looking for new things, and believe it or not, they have added both episodes of the infamous NBC specials titled Legends of the Superheroes from 1979. They are now available on streaming on Tubi. They're posted as a season 1 with 2 episodes, but they're in the wrong order. They have The Roast as episode 1 and The Challenge as episode 2. Now, if you're looking at your screen like, what the hell are you talking about, John? Legends of the Superhero. I'll just let you look at this picture of the cast. This was the most exciting thing for an 11-year-old John in 1979. Superheroes on TV that weren't Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, or the Incredible Hulk. Something different. I was so excited. It was like superheroes on your TV screen for the first time, like the Huntress, Black Canary, the Flash, Hawkman. I'm like, oh, wow, it's like the Justice League of America. They're going to do a story. Now, 11-year-old me did not realize that Adam West and Burt Ward were coming back to play Batman and Robin, and Frank Gorshin was the Riddler. So it was a comedy, air quotes.
Yeah.
Richard, what do you think about the first special?
I do not remember this. This was
Oh,
something in my memory. So I'm watching it in preparation of the show, and my wife looks at me and says, "What is that look on your face?" Because I was like this through the entire. Yes, Adam West is there, Burt Ward is there. It's 10 years after the TV show, so
it shows.
and it shows. Yes, they've
It's
they've
a, it's a rough 10 years.
uh and it was and the costumes that they were wearing were, I mean, if you try to judge stuff by things that are going on nowadays, it's difficult. This is 1979, but it's very campy, very over the top, and it's weird in that it feels like a show that was not made for superhero fans.
Mhm.
It was made for a more general audience, and therefore, they were loose with the different tropes.
What were they thinking? Especially the second episode, which is called The Roast, which is literally a superhero roast hosted by Ed McMahon, no less. Richard, did you watch any of The Roast?
I watched a little bit, as much as I could take.
Did you get to Ghetto Man?
No, I did not.
Everybody that has watched this is now begging you, Richard, to keep watching until you get to Ghetto Man.
Oh my goodness, that just sounds awesome.
Guess who Ghetto Man is, Richard?
Who?
He's the black superhero that comes out about halfway through.
Oh, okay. Ghetto Man. That makes sense.
No Black Lightning, no other superhero. It was Ghetto Man. Just as bad as the first special, which featured Retired Man, which writes itself. He's literally an old guy that's retired. I will say there's a few things. There's two things that are I wouldn't say redeeming, but interesting. Hello, Hawkman. Hello, Hawkman. All right. And Charlie Callis as Sinestro is like perfect casting. He looks just like friggin' Sinestro.
Yeah, he did. He did.
I just waiting for Sinestro to be like, they're making all those Charlie Callis noises.
Do you know the background for how this came to be?
Yeah, actually, Mark Evanier has written about this several times on his blog. It's very weird. As Hanna-Barbera produced it, it was supposed to be like a live-action Super Friends because Super Friends was so popular. And then just typical meddling from the network, and it's got to be this and this and this. And I don't know if they were thinking it was a pilot for a series, or if it was just Fred Silverman, the president of NBC at the time, just saying, we need something on the schedule here, throw this at it. Because NBC was in real trouble at this time, 1979. So they were trying anything and everything. Have you guys seen Legends of the Superheroes? Bootlegged for years, grainy, fourth, fifth generation dubs on VHS at conventions. It was officially released on DVD on demand in 2010, I think, but now it's finally available on streaming for your eyeballs to bleed in the privacy of your own home in high quality.
It's interesting. Let's just put it that way. It's an interesting snapshot in time.
You're so generous. Show and tell time. I have a theme in celebration of Captain America Brave New World. It's all Cap, all the time, starting with a very special book to me. It is Captain America 102. The third issue of his rebooted series from 1968. This is special because it, for the longest time, was the earliest issue of Captain America that I owned in my collection as a kid. I traded a stack of comic books for it at the Illyria Bazaar. And I got not this particular copy, but I got a copy of it, and I treated it like it was, the Holy Grail. I gingerly caressed it. I turned the pages extra slowly to look at the art. I made sure I kept it in good condition. The original is long gone, but I still look at this and I think of being upstairs in my room with my little Emerson turntable, listening to ABBA, the album, and looking at the Jack Kirby artwork. Cap
It's
102. The Sleeper Strikes. What is your?
I love that. I love that personal connection.
Mhm.
I'm going to go with another property that has been revitalized, and that is Ironheart.
Oh,
Here is Ironheart. This is the second print for Ironheart #1. It's a fairly rare book. I love the cover. It's different from the A cover, but
do you know what the print run was on the second printing?
I think it was like around 9,000 something. Something.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is tiny. Wow.
Yep.
What's the original cover? It's not the same drawing. This is a new drawing.
It is a new drawing. Yeah. I've actually did I bring that up? Nope.
It's okay if you didn't.
Yep, I don't have that here, but yeah, it's different cover.
Riri coming soon to a small screen near you, hopefully without Charlie Callis. He's dead though, right? Captain America 106. Cap Goes Wild. And I remember this just being like my first example outside of Cap 193 is one of Kirby's crazy foreshortening perspective covers. Like, look at his fist and look at the stick that the fake Steve Rogers has and Cap's legs. I mean, this just screams Kirby.
Oh, it does.
And I first read this in the reprint title, Marvel Super Action reprinted this first. Yeah, in 1979, no less. Probably while I was watching Legends of the Superheroes, the roast, going, oh, comic books are serious, guys. But I love this cover. Oh, there you go. You're up.
I'm going to do a Cap book.
Oh, wow. You got the memo.
Wow, this is the all-new Captain America #1.
Woke dork.
Yeah.
No flex zone.
Yeah, this is one of those store variant. It's Interscope store variant.
Interscope?
Interscope, yeah.
As in like the record label Interscope?
See right there, it says Interscope variant edition.
Interesting. What was there a recording artist involved or something?
I don't know.
All right, we did a quick Googling without you guys noticing. That was a clean edit, right? Oh, wait, I called attention to it. Yeah, this is a variant for, we're going to just completely destroy this name. Ray Sremmerd, who was signed to Interscope Records. This was a variant posted or done for his release. So there you go.
Yeah.
Now we do.
Yeah, and this this is the first all new Captain America, first title that he headlined as Cap.
There you go. Oh, I see. He's wearing his t-shirt says the guy's name too.
Yeah, right.
Yep. All right. Keeping our Cap and the Falcon theme alive, Captain America and the Falcon 140. Just love that Ramita cover.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a little Kirby there with the gray gargoyle. But look at the focus on Sam. Pre-wings, white and red costume. And the Cap book was, I'm not setting the sales charts on fire, so I think they kind of shifted the focus here and there for the Falcon to be featured, and it was not unusual to have him on equal or even bigger footing ground than Cap on some of these covers in the early 70s. So very cool. John Romita, man, you can't beat him.
Yeah, great cover.
Drew Cap in the 50s, Drew Cap in the 70s. We'll take it. And what is your last show and tell book?
My last is we are very close to achieving this in the MCU. This is Young Avengers #1.
Did you finish Agatha?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And,
so you're up to date. You know what's up.
Yep, great show. I liked it better than I liked WandaVision.
He's not on that cover though.
No, he's not. He's not.
Where's Tommy?
But yeah, we're just missing him for Young Avengers, and then our Hulkling, I think, is the one we're missing, aren't it?
Yeah, a few of them. How's your copy? Because I know that's a notoriously tough book in 9
Well, this is what?
It says not for resale. What is it?
That's a good question. I was hoping you would tell me because My copy says not for resale. There is no barcode on this.
Interesting. I wonder if it came with a figure or something, maybe. Where'd you get that?
Who knows?
That's the face of a seasoned collector. Don't ask me where I got
I buy stuff all the time. I believe I bought this at a comic book convention a couple years ago. I have a couple different copies, but this is the one that says no resale here in the corner.
Okay. It wasn't a former CGC 9.5.
God, no. There is a 9.5 variant yeah.
Hey, if you find out more trivia like this and you want to support the show, why not become a member here on YouTube? $2.99 a month, less than a Starbucks. You get Wednesday extra show and tell episodes, crazy live streams on Thursday. This last Thursday, no exception.
It was fun.
Yeah, when I got there after my dental appointment, I've been seeing a lot of medical professionals lately. You also get shout outs in future videos like this. Look at your name. Oh, there it goes. And you help us pay for StreamYard. You help us pay for shows. We got both those things coming up. Just hit join next to the subscribe button below here on YouTube or in the description if you're listening on a podcast. And we truly appreciate every single one of you. But you don't have to be a member to send us a piece of viewer mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, start off.
My first piece of viewer mail is from Ink Transfer Comics here on YouTube.
That happens when you use too much humidity, by the way.
It says, I'm nearing 40 and have around 10,000 books. I would say I'm at the point where having such a large collection is not bringing me joy. I would rather cash out a lot of those and focus on having a smaller collection of nicer books. Excuse me. Ink Transfer. Yeah, I'm 10,000 books is a lot of books to take care of. All it takes is one, buying a new house and realizing you're going to have to transfer all those to someplace else to realize that's a lot of books, and books weigh a lot. A long box of books can put your back out. And if you've got 10,000, you got a lot of long boxes. So it definitely, pardon?
When I was in the Army, I had probably about 2,000 CDs and probably 15 long boxes. And when you move, they have to move you. They have to pay for the move. And the movers would hate me. They hated me. I had to move all my stuff to South Korea. I had to move it all the way back to California. And then they had to move it back to Cleveland when I went home after the Army. It was crazy.
So they actually shipped your books to South Korea.
They sure did.
Wow.
They have to. You have to pay for your move. You have to be able to take your stuff.
Yeah, that is incredible.
Yeah.
But we could definitely understand a smaller collection is something that you get it to a point where you want to bleed off all the books that may not have importance to you but are a part of your collection. I glom onto all kinds of things like Sonic. It's in my collection. Do I need it in my collection? Not really, but it's there, and it's sitting in a long box or short box because I broke everything into short boxes long ago, and it's there. It can easily be trimmed for my collection without me feeling like I'm at a loss.
Moving along to the next piece of viewer mail along this subject, where last few weeks we've been talking about trimming collections, selling books. When is it time? And this is from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Brian McCauley. Dearest John, Richard and John, you came first.
Of course.
As a fellow collector of a certain age, I have learned an immense amount about the current status of the hobby from your podcast, and I also relate to the stories of your love of the medium and its community. To this day, some of my favorite memories are of the time spent hanging out at my LCS superhero universe in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I was a lonely nerd, and the store was like heaven to me. My loitering led to running the occasional errand in exchange for a free comic. Then it morphed into working for a combination of cash and store credit. I think we've all been there. I remember seeing the first TMNT on the shelf and passing on it. It seemed a little too cartoony Ronin parody to me. However, I was smart enough to buy the third printing and a couple of subsequent issues. This brings me to the reason I am writing. I have never traded or sold a single comic. I have some great stuff from the 1980s, I took a long break in the 1990s to binge drink and chase disinterested women. Started reading again in 2001, and I have some valuable key issues. I have accumulated about 7,000 comics, and I want to sell at least half of them. I bought a press, cleaning supplies, and Gemini mailers, but I just can't seem to get started. Help me, Ron's and Modern Gods. You're my only hope. Best, Brian. Brian, got to do it. That's the best way to get started, is to start. It's a cliche. It's something you already know if you're this age. You know, you've got to pick a few books, make a goal. I'm going to post 5 books a week on eBay, 1 book a day, and then the weekends off. That's how I do it. When I sell, you guys see me in the live sales on Instagram all the time. Those books don't just magically appear for the live sale. I am pressing and pricing books constantly. And I don't overwhelm myself because it can get overwhelming. I just, I'll press 3 books a day. I have 3 presses. If you have 1 press a book a day. You just need 24 hours to press a book. And then the one thing that helps me, the minute it comes out of the press, before I do anything, I grade it and price it in a spreadsheet. So I never have to look at it or think about it again. Then when I'm ready to list it, I just go to my spreadsheet and I go, oh, here's that issue of The Brute #1. It's a 9.4. I'm going to ask this much for it. So, Brian, my advice to you is you just got to start. It's overwhelming looking at 3,500 of your 7,000 books thinking, how will I ever do this? You won't. You just got to start doing little bits. Richard, your thoughts?
Absolutely. It's one of those things where you sell your first one, and then that you learn lessons from that sale. When to sell it, how to sell it, how to calculate the fees, all the different factors, and then you sell your next one, and you use the lessons you learned from the first one in the second sale. I know the very first comic I sold on eBay, it was very nervous. The last comic I've sold, I was completely prepared. I knew exactly what I was going into. I knew exactly the parameters, and it gets much, much easier over time.
And you're going to have a customer service issue at one point. Just plan on it. Someone will get a book that they're unhappy with, or it gets damaged in the mail. And so prepare yourself for that. I remember the first time I got something back on eBay, like, I'm not sure I agree with your grade or whatever. And I was like personally offended. I'm like, I grade books in my sleep better than you, but you can't feel that way. You have to try to resolve the issue. You just got to get started. And Richard, your next piece of viewer mail ties in nicely.
Absolutely. My next piece is from Cardio One Campbell, and it's, okay, so how do I go about selling my comics for max value and minimum fees? Thanks. Right to the point.
I love it.
Well, I mean, max value to me is buying a book and pressing it if it needs a press, so that you can get it to its best condition. I'm talking about raws now. You're getting it to its best condition. And then minimum fees is do an Instagram live sale. If you want to have no fees whatsoever, sell the book directly to the buyer. And Instagram is one of the best ways. John and I both have sold hundreds of books on Instagram's live sales.
But I will say it's tough for people that aren't us, though. We have a podcast and we have a following, but go ahead, finish. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And he was asking for minimum fees. Mm-hmm. So that is the best way, selling direct. Now, getting to a point where you have an audience to sell is definitely kind of the middle step here that I kind of jumped over. And you can get an audience simply by posting comments on Instagram. Before we started the show, John and I both had Instagram accounts and had a reasonable number of followers because we were just posting about books we liked, and we were commenting on other people's posts, and you build sort of a community around your Instagram account, and that is the audience that you can sell to. Post the books you have for sale up on Instagram, which you've got that start of a community, and you have the ability to sell on Instagram. I would, if I was coming in new, would rather go and sell on eBay. eBay now has instituted a change to their fee policies where
not yet, not in the US yet.
It's not in the US yet?
Not in the US yet. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. They are changing the fee structure so that the seller doesn't pay the listing fees. It is or final fees. It is the buyer, which kind of offsets those fees.
The reason I know it's not implemented yet is I sold a static 45 9.6 for $346, and the eBay fees for me were $50.
Yeah, that's the problem. So yeah, the advantage to eBay is you have the biggest audience out there for comic books right now, and eBay handles everything for the entire transaction. Handles all the money back and forth between you and the buyer, and brings that audience to you. You don't have to worry about building an audience yourself. The disadvantages are the fees, and eBay automatically, if there's some kind of conflict, eBay always picks the seller as the default winner. You have to convince them that it was not
the buyer is the default victim.
I'm sorry, buyer. That's what I meant. Yeah. I meant buyer. I'm sorry. Convince the buyer is correct, and you have to convince them otherwise, which is a difficulty. So if you find yourself in a conflict, you just have to make sure you have very good documentation as to what you sent them and its condition. It's unfortunate, but they still are the biggest audience out there in terms of if you're looking to sell books with minimum effort.
My answer is very different, Cardio Campbell, than Richard's. It depends on the book. It depends on what you're selling. Are you selling a run of Star Brand? You're not going to get max value. Sorry, it's a $1 bin book all day long. Is it a Hulk 181 Wolverine? Well, max value, press it, clean it. If you don't know how to do it, get it done professionally and sell it through one of the big auction houses like Heritage or Comic Link and get ready for their take on it.
Yeah, but you have to be realistic too. If you have that Star Brand, max value may be $1, it may be $2, you know. So
that's my point is, you know, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about a whole collection of, you know, Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 500? That's crazy. You would probably go through an auction house for the first 150 so issues. And then after that, you know, who wants a Spider-Man 269? You know, so it's not a cut and dried answer, Cardio. You've got to really look at the books you have and decide, okay, am I going to slog through selling each individual issue on eBay and charging $9 shipping because that's how much that's how much it costs to send a Gemini mailer now. And it went up, by the way, just went up again.
And that's a good point. There is a lot of effort, even doing the live sales that John and I do. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Even doing the
it's not sexy when we're shipping.
No, it's selling the book is the easy part because it's fun. You're communicating with the seller. Our live sales are just a great time. I enjoy interacting with people in the chat. But then the work comes because you got the books, you got to do all the documentation, you got to send out the text, you know, talking about what the total is, and then handle the money, and then handle packing everything up and then shipping it out, and then making sure everything arrives correctly. And if there's problems, then we got to address them. It's a whole process that takes away, you know, that's part of the cost of doing business when it comes to selling comics.
All right. My next piece of viewer mail comes to our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Larry Hicks. Howdy, John and Richard. I love listening to your show. Thank you for the effort you put into it. Well, thank you, Larry. Appreciate that. My question is, what is the highest form of protection you could have for a comic book, excluding slabbing or whatever those cages John threw out accidentally from the Nick Cage purchases were? The fortresses. Boy, thanks for reminding me, Larry. I appreciate that. Ouch. I definitely bag and board my books, but there are certain books that are very precious to me, such as my Marvel Collector's Item Classics issues, hidden gems I feel nobody knows about. I love those too. Anyway, I'm guessing there's some sort of middle ground where you can put the book in to protect it pretty well, but you can also get to it to actually read the darn thing. Lastly, John's recent slabbing through CBCS got me thinking. Fundamentally, collecting is all about rarity. In 50 years, if there are 500 absolute Batman #1s slabbed through CGC for sale and 15 slabbed through CBCS, which ones will be rarer? Smiley face. Cheers, Larry. Well, Larry, I think you know the answer to that last question yourself. I don't think it matters. Maybe some people will end up preferring one slab over another. Who knows? But like right now, people prefer CGC. If they'll still be around. Now, besides slabbing, how to protect your books. Richard, do you want to talk a bit about the cases you like? Those magnet cases?
Yeah, I wish I had one handy. They are really nice in that the comics, you put a raw comic in it, and the case closes with a couple of magnets at the top, and has a little slot at the top where you can put a thumbtack or a nail in to hold it on the wall. They're nice. They're not designed for any serious level of protection, but they definitely will allow you to hang your work on your comic on the wall.
They're the UV one-touch magnetic holders by Ultra Pro, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think you can get a 3-pack for $52. So they're not cheap. It's almost like slabbing a book, but they're UV protected. They're pretty solid. They're held by magnets. Magnets. How do they work? Any Insane Clown Posse fans out there got that joke. That is probably the best thing short of a fortress or a slabbing. My fortresses. I miss them. Richard, what is your final piece of viewer mail?
My next piece of viewer mail is from Ghostwriter 2121. And he says, and then we're talking about the Wonder Man casting. Wonder Man is going to be a new TV show from the Marvel MCU. Happy they casted a black actor, even though he has been a white character since 1964. Woke dork. We are entering a period of time. I'm not going to get political or anything like that. But there are going to be, I feel, more comments like this that are going to come down the pike as people feel they have the freedom to express, and they do have the freedom to express their opinions, and I have no problem with that. But I don't agree with this woke dork comment. There is nothing wrong with having a black actor as Wonder Man. Wonder Man is not what's the best way of putting it? It's not exclusive to a particular race. I would say he is specifically a male, given that his name is Wonder Man. So I would not see a female in that cast in that role. But having an African American or an Asian American or anybody really cast in this role, as long as they do a good job and can portray the character as the director and the source material warrants, then good for him. And I'm sure that this particular gentleman was the best person that they had for the job. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he portrays Wonder Man, because Wonder Man could be a fun character.
Hi, Ghostwriter 2121. Two things. Number one, worrying about the race of a fictional character in a comic book TV show and then calling someone else a dork. Not the best look for you. Also, casted is not the word. Past tense of cast is cast. Happy they cast a black actor.
Yeah, I agree with you, and there are ways that you can attack his post, but I really don't want to get into that level of semantics and grammar. I just want to address the fact that woke is not necessarily something that you want to, as you mentioned, focus your energy on for a fictional character in a TV show that hasn't come out yet, so you really can't gauge how good of a job he's done.
Richard is much nicer than I am. I am petty. I am Tom Petty. I am Petticoat Junction. I am Petty Pedersen. I am petty AF. Let's move on or move back to 1999 before we get going and hit up the 25-year rule. Richard, should a black person be allowed to write Deadpool?
As long as it's a good job, sure.
Well, this was the first issue of Christopher Priest's run on Deadpool after Joe Kelly's reimagining of the character. Now, you're sure, because Christopher Priest is black, so can he write a character whose skin looks like raw hamburger meat or the top of my head on Sunday?
Oh, that's terrible.
Deadpool has a nightmare in which he is forced to move to a trailer park inhabited by canceled comic characters. All the canceled comic characters in here, by the way, were at one time written by Christopher Priest, the writer of the story. I think Christopher Priest's run gets overshadowed a bit by the brilliant Joe Kelly run that came before, but I really liked it when Priest took over this book, and he had editorial issues. It was tough for him. He tried his best. This book was perennially on the bubble of cancellation. Can you believe it? Deadpool, as popular as he is now,
Right.
was like Spider-Girl. Every 2 months, it's like, we're going to cancel Deadpool, and fans, we get angry. These mid-run Deadpools are still pretty cheap. You can grab this one anywhere from $3 to $15 on eBay. If you've never read Christopher Priest's run, wake up, you're woke, and check it out.
Give it a chance.
I'll stop, by the way. Our underrated books of the week. You are up, my friend.
Yeah, my pick this week is a weirdo book. I remember this book back in the day. It's AV in 3D by Aardvark Vanaheim back in December of 1984. It's a 3D comic. It came with 3D glasses, and it featured characters that Dave Sim, who is he's the creator, writer, artist, everything for Cerebus, him and Gerard. He had a number of other titles that were under Aardvark Anaheim, which was the publishing arm for his empire. And he had comics like Normal Man, Flaming Carrot, Ms. Tree, which I just recently got. Ms. Tree means mystery. I'm slowing the uptake. Cerebus, of course, Neil the Horse, and Journey. Now, some of these was my first and only introductions of some of these characters. Journey, I never really, I never found where to continue to read anything. Neil the Horse, this was kind of my only journey into that. But to me, it's an interesting kind of could have been book where you see Dave Sims had the aspiration to be a publisher and have other artists work with him and become, have Aardvark and Anaheim become like Image would become later on. And it didn't really happen that way, unfortunately. This book really just never made it in terms of popularity. I double, triple checked. I could not find this book on the census. So I don't think it's ever been slabbed. Obviously, if it's not slabbed, it's not going to be GPA. So I couldn't get a value for it. You can find this book on eBay all day and all night for $2, $3. So yeah, it's like I said, it may not be it's short stories from all these different characters. So if you're interested in learning more about Mystery, which is a pretty cool detective comic, Flaming Carrot, which I know John and our friend Forrest really like, and Normal Man, which I always enjoy. It's a great way of getting an opportunity to read all those character stories about those characters, getting a feel if you like them. That is, if you can stomach the 3D effect. I never really was a big fan of 3D comics. And that may be one of the reasons why this book never really took off, because that definitely can affect people wanting to read this book. But anyway, like I said, it's a great period piece, and for $2, I wouldn't pass it up.
I had this because of the Flaming Carrot, as you said, and it just always struck me. If you want this book to sell and fly off the stands, why do you not have the Flaming Carrot and Ms. Tree on the cover with Cerebus?
Right.
I mean, they're relegated to the back. It's a wraparound. I never understood the commercial choices that were made with some of the stuff that Aardvark Vanaheim did, but
right. I have Journey and Neil the Horse on the cover, who were less known characters. Put the the big names, I guess you could say, Miss Tree and Flaming Carrot on the cover.
As hot as Flaming Carrot was back then. Speaking of hot books, my underrated book of the week was underrated until Saturday when those trailers dropped. It is Captain America 230 with a classic cover by Ron Wilson. Now, Ron Wilson, still around, still alive. Check out the poster that was released for Brave New World. And now look at this cover and tell me that Disney does not owe Ron Wilson a little something on the back there.
100%. 100%.
Disney, Marvel, reward your artists. If you're going to use their inspiration, please reward them besides their work for hire one-time payment. That's all we're asking.
Mm-hmm.
This book in particular has been a bit of a key for the past few years. Even before this poster came out, this was like a $15 book because of the cover, but it really took off this weekend after the new trailer dropped. So now we're seeing high grade raws of Cap 230 selling on eBay for up to $50. If you want it, wait for this movie to come out for Valentine's Day. By the way, you know it's coming out on Valentine's Day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So what a date night movie. Darling, will you go with me to watch the Red Hulk beat the crap out of Sam Wilson? Oh, so romantic. Wait for it to die down. You probably get it for another, $15, $20 after that. I wouldn't be paying $50 for this book right now, but it is classic. And the minute I saw the poster, I wanted to reconfirm that I had a super high grade copy. So I ran right to my boxes. I'm like, okay, because I don't want to pay $50 for it.
On the flip side, if you're talking about reducing your collection and it's not an important book for you, now's the time to sell it.
Now, I would never sell it because it's my Cap collection. But yeah, like Richard said, if you're not a big Cap guy, flip this sucker and make some coin. All right, we're going to let Richard go and take some NyQuil, and we will catch you Wednesday, members, and everyone else will catch you next Monday.
Everybody, stay safe.